Welcome to VICTORPATH. Stop protecting your excuses. The psychology keeping you stuck. Everybody has a reason for why they haven't done something. Not enough time, not enough money, wrong circumstances, wrong opportunity, not ready yet. And here's what makes excuses difficult to recognize. Sometimes they're true. You really can be tired. You really can be broke. You really can have disadvantages. But there's a difference between explaining your circumstances and allowing those circumstances to define your future. So today I want to ask, when does an explanation become an excuse? Point one, excuses usually contain some truth. Excuses usually contain some truth. So I think, and I could be wrong, that most to all of us make excuses at times. Now, the elite level of us are on, we make very little excuses, and there are some that make excuses for virtually everything. But again, and I could be wrong, but I think that almost everybody makes excuses. So none of us are above this, really. And some of them, might be out of laziness or not wanting to do it, something, and avoiding it in a different way, like in a non-direct way. Either way, we make excuses, and they usually contain some truth in them. So that's why excuses are so convincing, because there's an element of truth in it, and that's how liars and manipulate really excel in that art, because behind their manipulation, behind their lies, is a little bit of a truth that gets you attached. And then it's like, okay, I got you with that lie. I got you with that false information. Now you trust me. Now I could lie to you at free will because I earned your trust. And it's similar, these excuses, because there's an element of truth to it. They earn your trust and you abide by your excuses. So someone might generally have financial problems. They might have limited time, family responsibilities. They might have a difficult past, especially when you see in relationships. There might be fewer opportunities. You could be in bad circumstances. So I'm not here to pretend that obstacles don't exist. Obstacles do exist. And sometimes it can be very challenging to the point that they cripple you. But instead of asking, instead of succumbing to your obstacles, it would be wise to ask, what can I control? What can I control? That's the most important question. What can I control? So now, now there are excuses that we make for things that we generally don't want to do, and I understand that. But now you have to think: is this thing that I don't want to do? Is it something that I need to do, or something that I don't need to do? For example, exercising. I might not want to exercise, but I need to exercise. So I'm going to avoid all the excuses to exercise. I'm going to exercise. Now, if it's something stupid that my family or friends want me to do, now I might not want to do it, right? And I can make excuse. which probably will work, likely will work. I prefer just to be generally direct, but excuses work for people in those situations. Um, but when it comes to something important, exercising, work, um, whatever I'm working projects, I'm not making excuses for those. Those are things that, and no matter how I feel, it's something I can control. No matter how I feel, I could still go and work out, no matter how I feel. Now, unless like, let's say working out, I'm injured, or let's say for work, I'm like sick and I can affect someone, then I shouldn't go. That's not making excuses, but generally speaking, if it's like, I don't want to deal with these guests at my job today. I don't want to deal with these clients. I don't feel like I'm too tired to get up and work out. Those are excuses, and those are excuses that you can control. Key point, responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. Responsibility means deciding what you're going to do next. So you have to be responsible for your actions. You have to be responsible. And making excuses is irresponsible, generally speaking. Excuses, point two, excuses protect the ego. Excuses protect the ego. So sometimes we avoid trying because trying gives us an answer we don't want. Sometimes trying gives us an answer we don't want. So back when I lived in New York and I trained mixed martial arts at I would consider this my home dojo because this is where I excelled the most and I learned the most about martial arts. NASD in Long Island, New York. One of my senseis would always say, trying is an attempt to fail. Trying is an attempt to fail. However, trying is much better than doing nothing. So if you're at least trying to do something, I give you credit for at least not doing nothing. However, when you get to the point of trying, you should evolve beyond that. Like, no, I'm no longer trying. I'm doing. If I say I'm going to do this, I'm not trying to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. If I want to get a better financial opportunity, I'm not trying to get a better financial opportunity. I'm going to get a better financial opportunity. If I want to lose weight, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to make conscious decisions to lose weight. If I want to gain more muscles, I'm not trying to gain more muscles. I'm going to do what is required to gain more muscle definition. So again, I give you credit for at least trying and facing the fact that you could fail, because that's what limits a lot of us. We don't want to fail. We don't want to give the answer that it gives us. I had to go through this with my publishing. Not many people supported me, and even those that did support me was fake. But it wasn't a license to hate them. No, it was a license to examine myself and learn where am I failing and what could I do better. How am I going to define myself as an author? What kind of audience am I going to appeal to? What kind of ideas am I going to use to appeal to them? I'm not going to make excuses. Well, I'm only here and I only got this amount of money, and that person don't like me. This person don't like me. Nobody's giving me credit. No, I'm going to deal with the publishing companies and all this stuff. No, I'm making excuses. I'm overcoming everything, every obstacle that's thrown my way. I'm not trying to overcome it. I will overcome it. So if you generally try and fail, you have to confront failure. You have to confront failure. But if you never fully try, you can always say, I could have done it. I I could have done it if I really wanted to. I could have done it if I really wanted to. Everybody knows those people. I could have done this if I really wanted to. They didn't try it, but if I did it, I could have done this. I only got one life. At least try. At least try. And trying is amateur level because you should be far above trying. I'm not trying. I'm doing this. I'm not scared of failure. What I look at when you think about exercising, pull-up bars. When you first get on a pull-up bar, when you first get up there and grab the pull-up bar, whatever way you do it, pull up, biceps, back, whatever way you do it, you have to be afraid to some. You have to be let go of the fear of sometimes being looking stupid. Because at the first time, it's going to look funny. It's going to look funny. Now you could go into like the supported pull up bar where like you could make the weight adjust to your level. But if you want to do it just like I'm just doing it without no support, the first couple of times you're gonna look silly. But that you like if you want to gain your back, if you want to gain like strength, overall strength, you need to get up on our pull up rack and do it. And do it. And don't matter how you look at the first couple of times. Eventually, it's going to be like boom, 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 boom. You're going to be able to do it with weights. You don't no longer need weights support. You're going to be able to do it with weights. So you have to especially the initial point, you have to be okay with I'm going to fail and I'm probably going to look stupid failing. But at least you tried, which is better than most. So I could have done it if I really wanted to. That protects your ego. So imagine if I didn't want to publish my books because I was scared of failure. I wouldn't be getting to the level where I'm getting to going to now because there are great things coming with the work that I'm doing. I'm not no ordinary thinker. I'm not no ordinary author. I'm elite level. Like my ideas are ideas that everybody could connect with on some level. Everybody can connect with. And it's things that we don't think about because all of us are thinking on surface level. It makes you think deep. It's the name of my publishing company, Thought Provoking. This is why, a lot of us get trapped in bad situations because we don't think about the situation. We just go in because of the illusions. You don't need to start the business because you're still researching. No, you could research and then you could spend some time research, and then you could spend some time taking action. See, I have on the thinking cap, www.thoughtprovoking.space you get a thinking cap. But I always tell people, yeah, think. I always tell my viewers, you could think, yeah, having your thinking cap at www.thoughtprovoking.space. Connect with your thoughts, the higher level of thoughts. Connect with all your thoughts. Don't be afraid to think. The most whatever thing. You could edit your thoughts, but open your mind to even thoughts that you disagree with. Open your mind. You could edit them later. But as much as thinking is important, you have to take action. Have to take action. So it's just not exclusively thinking. No, take action. You don't approach the opportunity because you're waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. Now is the right moment. It's not when you get this or that or this or that. Now, right now is the right opportunity, right moment, right now. Sometimes preparation is necessary, but sometimes preparation is procrastination, wearing a nice suit. Think about that. Sometimes procrastination sometimes preparation is just procrastination wearing a nice suit. Point three, fear often hides behind logic. Fear often hides behind logic. Excuses don't usually sound emotional. They sound rational. I'm being realistic. The market isn't right. I need more experience. I'll start when things calm down. Thinking about the market is not right, by the way. When the market is not right, and I could be wrong, I'm not perfect, but if you ask many investors, I think when the market is not right, that's the time to strike iron because the market is trying to figure out itself and reset in a sense. And that's when your barrier of entry is less restrictive. And if you find a niche in that market, you could be the pioneer to lead the market to a new direction. So that's a lame duck excuse if you ask me. I'll start when things calm down. But underneath that reasoning might be fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of embarrassment. It could also be, as scary as this might sound, it could also be fear of success. You're scared of your own success because success creates expectations and responsibilities. See, this is what I write about. Check out my Instagram, by the way, thought provoking our space. Sorry, thought provoking publishing. Thought underscore provoking underscore publishing underscore. You could check out my personal IG as well. And I have the Chimera series. I'm working on book two right now. One is available, In Love with the Chimera. Book two, In Love with the Dragon. I should have available within about a month or two. And In Love with the Serpent, I would like to come out by the end of this year, but it might realistically be early next year. The Chimera represents the illusion that draws us in. The dragon is the actual structure and the system structure, and the serpent represents the audience. And you could find this all if you look at my Instagram. You see all the postings that my company does about In Love with the Dragon and the Chimera series. And this goes for success. Success, there's an illusion that draws you in. You see all these successful people, they got this, they got that, they got this car, they got that car, they got this woman, they got that person, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the actual structure and the system that, and the truth, more at its root, that all your family and friends that weren't supportive when you weren't successful, they're going to be the main ones begging, 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 this and that, and this and that. And then fans and all this stuff, paparazzi and all this unpleasant stuff that you don't want to deal with. And then on a deeper level, it's the audience. So it don't even matter the audience because it's a serpent. So it doesn't matter what is true. It just matters what the perception is. And the audience controls the perception. If most people believe something that's a lie over one person that owns the truth, who do you think is going to win? In the short term, it's going to be the most people. Now, in the long term, you could prove all of them wrong, but the damage is done. Just like COVID. So Is this actually impossible? X. Is this actually impossible? Or am I uncomfortable? Those aren't the same things. Is this actually impossible or am I uncomfortable? If you're uncomfortable, that's something that you need to check within yourself. Why are you uncomfortable? But is that impossible? It may take time. It may take years. It may take you distancing from your family and your friends, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. Point four, explanations can become identity. Now, this goes back into my identity through repetition episode. You could go back and check that out. There's a major difference between I haven't been disciplined. I want to repeat that point again. Explanation can become identity because that's very important. Explanations can become identity. So there's a major difference between I haven't been disciplined and I am not a disciplined person, or I have made bad financial decisions versus I am terrible with money. The first describes behavior. The second creates identity. So you have to be good with yourself. Nice. You have to be kind to yourself. You're human to make mistakes, but identify a behavior versus your identity. Your identity doesn't have to be um I'm terrible with money or I'm not a disciplined person. Just for the moment you haven't been disciplined. For the moment you made bad financial decisions, but you could change it. Key point. Be careful about turning temporary circumstances into permanent definitions of yourself. Point five. Excuses give us permission to stay comfortable. Change creates excuses give us permission to stay comfortable. Excuses give us permission to stay comfortable. The last point. Sorry, this is not the last point. Excuses give us permission to stay comfortable. Change costs something. Getting healthier costs something. Building, getting healthier costs comfort. Building a business costs clarity. Building a business costs certainty, sorry. Writing a book costs time. Learning something new costs ego. And this is one of the reasons why I love martial arts. Love martial arts so much. Because you're learning something new. And a lot of people, they have ego. Like, especially even with me. I mean, I have ego. I'm not above it. But I have great humility as well, I believe. And, I learned systems here and I learned martial arts systems there. And I, did some things on my own. But wherever I go, if I'm going to learn a new art, I'm humble. I don't act like I know everything. I don't act like I know everything, and I'm humble. I listen to those who are ranked high, even the ones who are ranked lower than me. They might see something that I'm not seeing, so I'm humble, and I'm able to take that growth. I have with the a book that I'm working on now, In Love with the Dragon. There's a section that I'm working on that I was working on just today. One of the characters talk about the beginning of wisdom is understanding that you don't know it all. The beginning of wisdom is understanding that you don't know it all. So you have to come in humbly. I don't know. I'm trying to learn. I want to learn. I want to get better. You don't know it all. Let go of your ego. And again, I have ego just as much as anybody, but I know when to let go of my ego and to learn. You have to let go of your ego when you want to learn. Discipline costs, discipline costs immediate gratification. Sometimes the excuse isn't reality. I can't. It's I don't want to pay the price required yet. That's what it is. I can't, is really, I don't want to pay the price required yet. And that's much more useful thing to admit because now you can make actual decisions. So I can't, I can't go to martial arts tomorrow if I broke my leg. No, I can't. But if I just don't feel like doing it because I'm tired, that means I just don't want to pay the price required right now. There's one position I have, but I do multiple things. There's one position I have, I work overnight from 11 to 7 in the morning. And um, kickboxing class is at 8 in the morning. And it takes me a little bit less than an hour to get home. So I rush home, get my gym bag, go to class while not getting no sleep overnight. And sometimes the morning, the day before, I did class that day. So I did class, didn't get any sleep before I had to go into work at night, worked at night, then still came back in the morning to come to kickboxing class. And that's the mindset that I use for everything that I'm doing, all the work that I'm doing. That's going to take me to the next level. Point six, stop saying I don't have time. Stop saying I don't have time. Try replacing common excuses with more accurate questions. Instead of I don't have time, ask, is this important enough for me to prioritize? Instead of I'm not ready, ask, what specifically am I missing? Instead of I can't afford it, ask, is there another way to accomplish the objective? Instead of I can't do that, ask, what part of this can I do? You're moving from helplessness to agency. And so I also am licensed in health insurance as well. And a lot of agents, they want to buy leads. They want to spend, buy leads, work on this program, buy this program, do this to get leads to come into them. And if that's what you want to do, fine. It's cool. And so it could work. But I like to take the more cost effective and more organic approach and going directly out to business, local business, and just market and introduce myself and uh, show them my value, give them my business card, give them a flyer, and create connections, create partnerships with doctors, apartment complex managers, dentists, business owners, small business owners. Just connect with all of them and, just put my name out there and make them see me over and over and over and over again until they could trust that guy and they could send people my way or they could, sign up for the health insurance themselves. So, there's the money way. If you like, you can't afford it, but there's also the organic way where you could do a lot of the work, especially in the beginning that you would normally have to pay. Because getting a lead is just simply getting somebody who has a small amount of interest. It could be a small amount of interest in what you do. So if they have a small amount of interest in health insurance, getting health insurance for themselves and not understanding the system, this is a very complicated system to understand. That's why I have to be licensed. So if it's a small interest, just gathering the information, the name, the number, and the best time to contact them, and that's a lead. And I don't necessarily have to pay for that. I'm going out and getting it organically. Point seven, This is the last point. Decisions create evidence. Decisions create evidence. You don't overcome excuses by thinking about overcoming excuses. No, I'm not sitting here with my thinking cap on. How do I overcome these excuses? How do I? No, no, your thinking cap is not going to work. You act. One workout, one phone call, one application, one page, one conversation. With the manosphere, red pill. Some of the stuff I do agree with. There's a lot of truth to it, but it goes a little bit too far. Well, it goes a little bit too far with the passport bro movement. I don't really agree with that. I understand it, but I don't really agree with it. And also the concept of, you know, like a lot of men like to make the excuse, I don't talk to girls because they're rude and I don't like how they treat me. It's so disrespectful. Yeah, some of them might be rude, but you have to think about your approach too. And think about put yourself in their shoes. There is a lot of truth to like, going out and cold approaching women. There's a lot of I would do it. I don't necessarily cold approach. I just do things and girls it's not that complicated. Girls either want to talk to you or they don't want to talk to you. And you shouldn't be scared to strike up a conversation about common interests and just see where it goes. And also, most importantly, most of this is the most important: have an abundance mindset. So I'm not just thinking about this one girl I got to talk to all day. I'm not even thinking about girls like that. I'm thinking about this moolah. I'm thinking about this, all this stuff. This is what I'm thinking about. Now, if I'm casually doing something and she catches my eye and, there's something that, we could talk about, and see where it goes. But she's not the only one that I'm thinking about having that conversation with. So I think a lot of men need to get over that. Like, cold approaching, I get it. That's probably like a little bit weird. It works for some people, but that's not really my thing. Just casual conversations and then see where those conversations lead. And don't be afraid to talk to them. They're human, just like us. They make mistakes just like us. They might look very nice, sometimes perfect, but that's the illusion. Don't buy into the illusion. One uncomfortable decision, then another. Eventually, you create evidence that contradicts the old stories you've been telling yourself. Confidence isn't always what creates action. Sometimes action creates confidence, which is more rich and authentic if you ask me. Which leads to there were countless reasons I could have used not to keep writing the Chimera universe. Work, time, exhaustion, revisions, wondering whether people would read it, wanting chapters to be better. Some of those obstacles were completely legitimate, but legitimate obstacles don't write books. Eventually, I still had to sit down and write. Characters remain trapped while they avoid uncomfortable truths. Transformation begins when they finally confront them. Your circumstances matter. Your disadvantages matter. Your past matters. But eventually you have to ask yourself, what can I control now? You don't need to solve your entire life today. Make one decision. Take one action. Create one piece of evidence that you're no longer committed to the story that's keeping you stuck. Don't confuse an explanation with a destination. Think critically. Question assumptions. Choose direction.